Hello guys, what is up today? It's your host Eli, or Elias. Today we will be going over programming homework number 8 for Computer Science 2, which is ZyBooks Lab 13.8, 13.10, and 13.11, which are all about classes and derived classes and things like that. So we will hop right in. I will show you guys these on ZyBooks. And I will also leave a link to my GitHub, which will have the code that you see today there, okay? Alright, so let's hop right on in. We are given 13.8, 13.10, and 13.11. I won't read them here just because we'll read the same thing over here in ZyBooks. So, right here, 13.8, we'll start with the first one, instrument information using derived classes. So, given the base class instrument, define derived class string instrument for strings instrument. So if the input is this, the output should be formatted just like this. So we have our first class, which is instruments. It takes in 4 arguments, which is the name, the manufacturer, year build, cost. We do diff underscore init underscore so we can initialize it. And we also give it another function right here, def print info, which will format just how we want it, what we type in, our input. So there's that first class. Here we have a derived class that takes in the instrument. So we will use name, manufacturer, year, build, and cost from instrument, but also add number of strings and number of frets within this string instrument. So we initialized it right here. We didn't necessarily do the print info because it kind of hard coded it here at the end. There's a much better way to do it, but we'll leave it just as it is. So right here we have it initialized. We take in different inputs. So the first input we take is instrument name. Second one is manufacturer name, year build, cost, string instrument name, string manufacturer, string year build, string cost, number of strings, number of frets. We take in several inputs, some integers, some string. So we initialize our first object using our class instrument. So my instrument equals instrument, given the instrument name from the input we have given, the manufacturer name, year, build, and the cost as well. Then we initialize a second object, my string instrument, using the string instrument class that takes in the instrument class. So same thing, taking in the inputs of its string instrument name, string manufacturer, string year, build, string cost, and number of strings. So we have right here my string dot print info will print out its information, this that you see here. It will do the same for my string instrument. It'll print the same thing out, and they hard coded this just so that we have this thing appears, just so that we have this last part right here, because string dot or the print info only prints this out. They needed to hard code this, or we could have easily built another print info down below in the string instrument, but I decided not to do so. So we'll go ahead and run this. I'll give it a run. I have the input right here. Do submit mode. We submitted it for grading already, but we'll give it another submit. And sure enough, 10 out of 10, we passed this one. So the input is this, output is this, input is this, output is this. So far so good. Everything seems to be working. And like I said, it could have been a little bit better, but they chose not to. So I'll have this code in my GitHub, which I'll link down below. Jumping over to 13.10 lab book information, overriding member methods. So it says, given the base class book, define a derived class called encyclopedia. Within the derived encyclopedia class, define a print info method that overrides the book class print info method to print not only the title, author, publisher, and publication date, but also the edition and number of volumes. So if we take given this, it should output this. We'll go ahead and look at what it's got. So it has a class book and initialized it using these arguments right here. Oops, scroll down a little bit too far. Make this a little bigger. And then initialize the print info function, which will print of the format that he wants, except for edition and number of volumes. So that'll be added later on. So we have this derived class, encyclopedia, So define the constructor, we defined it right here, taking in title, author, publisher, publication date from the book class, and only adding edition and number of volumes, which we initialized right here. We did also override the print info from the previous class, the book class, and added the edition and the number of volumes, so that way we can print if it is an encyclopedia or just a book. So we take in various inputs. We have the title, author, publisher, publication date. Now we have encyclopedia title, encyclopedia author, encyclopedia publisher, encyclopedia publication date, edition, and number of volumes. So then we initialize our first book object. So my book equals book, giving the title, author, publisher, publication from the input we accepted up here. Then we have myBook.printInfo, which is just going to print this thing out using the printInfo function of the book class. And then we went ahead and initiated our second object, which is my encyclopedia equals encyclopedia using this class, the title, the author, the publisher, publication date, edition, and number of volumes. We also went ahead and printed the info, but this one's using the print info from the encyclopedia derived class, so it will print out this and not this up here. So we'll go ahead and get that input from up here. We'll give it a run just to show you guys, and we'll also submit just to see that we did indeed pass this ZyBooks problem. So as we have it, there we go. We have book information and the encyclopedia information down here. So far so good. We'll go ahead and submit, and we'll see that we did get a 10 out of 10 score using our things we created up here. So far so good. I will also link this one to my GitHub, so you guys will be able to access this information. And finally, we have 13.11 lab plant information. So let's rewrite it once and let's go and see what we did. So given a base plant class and a derived flower class, write a program to create a list called my garden, store objects that belong to the plant class over or the flower class in the list, create a function called printList that uses the printinfo instance method defined in the respective classes and prints each element in my garden. The program should read the plants or flowers from the input ending with -1 in each plant or flower to the my garden list, and output each element in my garden using the printinfo function. So as we can see, it gave us input first, beginning with what is it, a plant or a flower, the name, the cost, if it's seasonal, and also the color. So seasonal, and color will only correspond to flower, or plant will only have the name and cost. So as we can see here, we have our first class, which is plant. We initialized it. We got the constructor, taking in plant name and plant cost. We also have the print info, which will give us just this right here. We have a class flower. We initialized the constructor right here, taking in plant name and plant cost from the plant class, and only adding is annual, color of flower. So we also have a print info, printing this, just adding almost the same as the last, but just adding these annual and color of flowers. So right here we define a function that we will use to print the list, which will take in an argument of a list, which will be my garden down here. So everything it reads, which I will explain as we go further down, everything will read. It will determine whether it's a plant or a flower, and then add it to my garden, so that way we can print the information later. So I'll read the function and kind of explain how it goes. So it'll take in the list, right? For every item in the list, it'll do item print info, and I added this print because not only does it print the info, but it prints a blank line in between each information. So that's why I put this print statement right here with it being empty. So we went ahead and declared our list called my garden right there. We take in a user input, which as we can see, the input is all ran together. So we did a while loop, because up here it says that it will keep on going until we type in a -1. So while user string does not equal -1, we will do the following. We will split the user string into tokens, so separating between every space. We'll read the first token to see if it's a plant or a flower. If it's a plant, then we would take the plant, the name and the cost, and we will initialize my plant taking the name and the cost, which as we can see here, it shows as tokens 1 and 2, because the first thing in R, when we split, is always going to be labeled 0. So this is 0, this is 1, this is 2. So if it was a flower, this would be 0, this would be 1, this would be 2, this is 3, and this would be false, the lilac. So went ahead and did that. So if the token is 0, if the first token is plant, then we will do this. If the token is not plant, then we assume it's a flower. Go ahead and delete this. We don't need that anymore. And then after initializing our plants or our flower, we will append it to the list my garden. So that's what we're doing right here on both the first and the second. Also, we did another user string right at the end of the if-else statement, just so we can get another input and keep getting inputs until we receive that -1 input, which will end our while loop. Once finished, and once everything is stored in my garden, we will call upon the function print list, which will take in the list my garden, and will print out every item. So we do item, which will be like the plant or the flower, and we will use the print info corresponding to either class. So if it's a flower, it'll use this. If it's a plant, it'll use this, and continue forward. So that's what it'll do, and it'll print out what we want. So we go in ahead and took all this input that it gave us up here and put it right down here. We'll go ahead and run the program. So yeah, you guys are able to see what it does. Like I said, I put that extra print just so that we have a space in between each output, because that's what we see over here. I will show you guys that if we don't put it, or I'll just comment it out, it'll all be together, and that's not exactly what it wants. So that's why we put it there. As you can see, everything runs together. So we went ahead and added, or we will go ahead and add it back. We'll submit this just to show that we did pass this. Boom. With each input given, we gave the right output. So as we can see, we have completed all 3 of our questions for the homework for this week. And without anything else to say, I will leave everything down below, the GitHub links to each one of these programs. Alright, without further ado, thank you guys so much for watching, and catch you in the next one. Goodbye.